This episode of Set to the Score is sponsored by Sky Sports. Stream Sky Sports flexibly on Now. What you want, when you want, no fuss. Go to nowtv.com to start streaming Sky Sports today. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Monday and welcome to Settle the Score. My name is Harry Durham. Let's look back at the absolute cracker at Anfield yesterday as City picked up their first Premier League win at Anfield since 2003. Nicolas Anelka was on the score sheet that day. That's a Boslow free kick, is, I'm going to say it, one of the best free kicks that I've actually ever seen. Joining me this morning is Stephen from Anything Liverpool and Nigel from the Manchester City Show. But I want to hear from you both. That ending to the game was something that I'd never ever seen before in the Premier League. Stephen, kicking off with you, have you ever seen a more chaotic end to a Premier League match?
I mean, if you count Bruno Fernandes's penalty after a full-time whistle went, maybe not, but that's probably the only time I've ever seen something that mental. I think the hilarious point about it, I think Slaw had a great point, is that we don't mind if you adhere to the rules, but this sort of wheel of fortune, spin the wheel and figure out when we're going to adhere to the rules is very funny. In reality, people are like, oh, well, why did Liverpool want the goal to stand and Sabazai not to be? Nobody wins in that situation, because if that goal was in, Liverpool dropped to 7th. We're behind Brentford and goal difference. If it doesn't go in, Sabazai now misses the Sunderland game. So it was a lose-lose for us one way or the other. We probably would have rather had Sabazai available for the next game, but it was mental. And then what was even funnier about it was the fact that Chiesa got down in the box by Rodri in that 30 seconds before it, and everybody thought it was coming back for that, but there wasn't even a replay about that.
Nigel, what did you think of it? Do you think the Cherki goal should have stood? I know obviously Szoboszlai fouled Erling Haaland, then Erling Haaland pretty much fouled him back. I saw it as like an eye for an eye sort of situation. The goal should have stand, but I'm not a rule maker in the PGMOL.
And nor am I, Harry, as you know, sadly. I think they should get us started next week. I think we'll make life a lot easier. I mean, we just hate VAR, don't we? And this is a perfect example of it just not working. And you know, whatever the laws say in that situation, the goal's got to stand. It just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And it's just ruining the game. And I'd much rather have a situation now where we actually just drop VAR. I know it's not going to happen, but most football fans, if you ask them, would say, let's just stop using it. Let's use it for factual stuff, in and out of play, goal. That works, doesn't it? It's instant. On the referee's watch, it happens. We know it's a goal and the decision's given. But that situation just tells you everything you need to know. It's just got to go. And it was a crazy situation, absolutely ridiculous. And of course, it spoils it for fans. At that moment, the adrenaline, the limbs, you just saw it at Anfield. We haven't won there for what is it since 20 odd years. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy.
Stephen, you starting to worry about the top four?
No, not at all. It'll be top 5 for European positions. Chelsea and Man United have their new manager bounce at the minute. That'll wane out. There's 13 more games to go. We both have to go and play Chelsea, United and Villa in the next 13 games. And yeah, it's in our hands. I'm not worried about it at all, to be honest with you. It's one of them situations where everything that could have gone wrong this season, and I was on to you earlier the season, I was like, I'm not worried about anything. Everything that could have gone wrong for us this season has gone wrong for us. 50-50s are not going our way. I seen somebody mention on X that we're only missing 5 guys and that's our bench, and that's such a massive oversimplification of the fact that we're missing Alexander Isak, both right backs, our backup centre back, and the young centre back that we signed in the summer, and that's just 4 of them, not then including. And it's just comical that everything that's happened, just as Isak was getting up to speed, Mickey van de Ven goes and snaps his leg, and you're kind of like, that just personifies our season as a whole. So another one that we really personify or Lushing mid-season. Take a look at the Fulham game. Yeah, I think he had 127 games and 4 goals, and then he decides to pull that out of his locker to equalise in the 97th minute. He'll never score a goal like that in his career. Fulham will probably never see a game like that in the next 10 years. It's just everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong. And Jeremy Frimpong is an example of an Iron Man all the way through his career at Celtic, all the way through his career at Leverkusen, comes to Liverpool, 3 hamstring injuries in the first half of the season.
Nigel, you touched on it, the over 20 years since Manchester City won at Anfield, and it was 2003. Just how big was that Haaland penalty for the rest of your season, and where you stand and the points you are behind Arsenal as well?
It was a must-win game for both sides, wasn't it? Let's be honest, and that's an overused phrase, but it absolutely was. And, to go 1-0 down in the nature that we did, it was kind of typical of our season. It's happened so many times where we've dominated a first half, we haven't taken our chances, and then we get sort of caught on the break, and I thought it's just going to happen again, and that would be title over it if that was going to happen. So I think to then come back, Bernardo, can we just talk for the next 10 minutes about Bernardo? He was absolutely unbelievable, absolutely brilliant. And his movement for that goal, and credit to Haaland as well, and for the header, it was just perfect. And so to get back in the game, and then for Haaland himself, you saw the reaction. He has not scored in a City shirt at Anfield. So for him to get that goal, to get the win, I think it's 1937, the last time we did the double over Liverpool. So many things going on. So to mean the title race is potentially still on. I don't think we're going to do it, Harry, to be honest. I still don't think we're going to win the league. But at least, we've got a midweek game this week, which means it could go to 3 points. And listen, absolutely vital, because, as I said, it was a must-win game for City, and just great to get over the line.
Why do you think they won't do it?
Sorry, Harry, I missed that. Sorry?
Why do you think they won't do it?
I just think that Arsenal are the stronger team. I think it is their season. We're not the side that we were 4 or 5 years ago. It's not the same team. Defensively, we're not as strong. Rodri is another year older. I just think that the players in that team are not. They haven't won Premier League titles. There's so many reasons. Arsenal eventually are going to do it. They've strengthened. They're looking strong. They're the best side in the Premier League. So I think there are so many reasons. And we've gone and we've gone again, 4 in a row. No one's ever done that before. I think this is a rebuilding season. I think this is a season where, we've got a couple of great signings. I think Gay looked superb yesterday, very calm in defence. So, I think as far as that's concerned, but I just think it's Arsenal's year, sadly.
Stephen, let's talk about the Szoboszlai free kick. He scored 2 absolute worldies from that range this season. The first one at the start of the season against Arsenal, and then that last night, it wasn't a loop over the wall. There was only a 2-man wall, and it was almost, the curve on it was like Roberto Carlos versus France. So it's just, oh my goodness gracious me. Like, I was sat on my sofa, it looked like a absolute bullet, and it was an absolute bullet. But when you saw the highlights and the curve and the ball and the replays, I don't think you'll see a better free kick than that all season, or at least for a good couple of years.
Well, if you ask Arsenal fans, they'll say Declan Rice's 2 last year were probably better, but that's just them. But no, Szoboszlai has been one of the best players that we've had so far this season, and without both him and Hugo Ekitike, I'd probably say we'd be fairly much further down. Again, it's just one of them. I keep saying, I think, and to be honest, I would consider myself one of the more reasonable Liverpool fans. I would consider myself not one of the more reactionary, considering all of the stuff that's kind of happened to us this season. But he has been phenomenal for us this season. He's been everywhere. He really sort of is embodying what that number 8 shirt means. Now, I'm not putting it in the same category as Steven Gerrard, not even remotely close yet. However, some people have thought that number 8 shirt has been cursed. We had Naby Keita in it previously, and he couldn't stay fit for love nor money, unfortunately, and was a great player on his day. But just this engine and drive and ability to play in multiple different positions, finish game at right back, start in midfield, go right wing, left mid, left mid. I'd say you can nearly put him in goal over Alisson, and he might put a shift in at this rate. He has been absolutely phenomenal, and so far has been our player of the season, and should be on for one of the Premier League players of the season, in finishing in the team of the season, at least in my opinion. He's been phenomenal. Such a rocket of a right foot. When he set it up, I was like, this is probably going to get passed off to somebody, and then all of a sudden I see it loop around, not, as you said, not over the wall, around. Yeah. And Donnarumma was left flat-footed and just watched it ricochet in off the post.
Well, normally it would be curling round the wall, but it was curving inside, which is it's just gorgeous.
It was a beautiful strike, absolutely phenomenal strike, and he has been one of the bright spots in what has been an otherwise bit of a turgid season, and similar to what has been said about Man City, it's a bit of a rebuild year, and I think the owners and the club themselves kind of knew that they took the 12 months to sort of solidify what we need, where we need it, and then went out and got Isaac Ekitike, Wirtz, and the two sort of best fullbacks that we could possibly find as well, along with a young centre back, and then very recently signing another young centre back with massively high potential as well in Jeremy Xhaka. It's one of them years. It's a transition year, in my opinion.
Nigel, how impressed have you been with Mark Guehi since he arrived at the football club as well? He was getting booed by the Anfield faithful because obviously he was meant to move there. And it was very weird. I thought it was very strange myself.
And was very weird.
And, it just didn't work on transfer deadline day. You've got the man you signed him then in January. A lot of question marks over whether he should have seen red for bringing down Mohamed Salah. Do you agree with that, Nigel, or was it a fine challenge and yellow card?
Well, listen, it was probably an orange, wasn't it? It was one of those that I've seen players sent off in that situation, but obviously the referee on the pitch felt that there was a covering defender with Diaz, wasn't it? Who I think was probably I don't think he denied an obvious goal scoring opportunity, and I think that's the view that they took. Listen, but fine margins, aren't they? But in terms of Gay himself, I mean, I was there for his debut. Just looks very assured. We know that defensively, a little bit like Liverpool, that's our Achilles heel this season. We are vulnerable on the break, but he's sort of brought a calmness to the situation. He's very measured. He doesn't seem to panic, and has some of those leadership qualities that I think have been lacking actually at City. Certainly defensively this season. So I think he's been a really good acquisition. Looks a quality defender, and was excellent against Liverpool yesterday at Anfield. A number of fantastic blocks, and just adds a little bit of quality at the back, I think, that we've been lacking.
Stephen, you were shaking your head then when we were speaking about the Mark Guehi challenge. Then, what's your response to Nigel?
Oh, I don't want to get this video marked for 18 plus, but it was shocking. It was genuinely shocking. The fact that it was first of all called a foul, and for Gary Neville on the commentary saying Mohamed Salah is never getting that, and I'm like, okay, look, Salah's maybe lost a step or two of pace, but he'd have to have no legs not to be able to get on the end of that. And I'm sorry. And then if you had the argument that Diaz could have come across, okay, but then that leaves Ekitike behind Diaz in front of his defender for a cutback. It's a denial of an obvious goal-scoring chance. It should have been a red card. VAR dropped the ball. And then on top of that, Salah should have had a penalty earlier on in the game because Bernardo Silva decided to have a tug of the shirt, the same level of a tug of the shirt that Erling Haaland got at the end of the game that saw Dominic Szoboszlai see red. So it was a foul but a yellow card, and then not a foul, and then a foul and a red card. So I'd love to know where the consistency is, because there was 3 instances of the same type of foul and 3 different outcomes came as the result of it. That just boggles my mind. As like, if you're going to call it the same every time, because then nobody can complain. Even if you call it wrong every time, just call it the same way every time. That way nobody can complain. But now, in my opinion, I felt a draw was a fair result. Man City dominated the first half. Liverpool dominated the second half. Alisson decides to drop his brains out the back of his shorts and give them a penalty for just completely barreling through Núñez for no reason whatsoever. We had open chances. Man City had open chances. We should have had a red card for Mark Guehi go in our favour. We should have had a penalty for Mohamed Salah. It was just do you know what? It kind of, if this is Pep's last season and this is the last game he plays at Anfield, it probably personifies the last sort of 8 to 9 years of what Man City coming to Anfield has been like. It's just been madness. And in my opinion, I feel it was complete denial of a goal scoring opportunity that Guehi done, and he got away with one. He really got away with one, in my opinion.
Nigel, you were shaking your head and you were bursting to say something then while Stephen was speaking. Just to finish off the show then, Nigel, your response to Stephen and his statements there.
Well, listen, I've already made the point about denying an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. There were so many ifs and buts in Stephen's response there, if this, if that, if the other. And to talk about 3 different situations, there were 3 very different situations. And it's not surprising you're going to have 3 different outcomes. Different parts of the pitch, different players, different situation, different contact. You can't say those are all the same situations. And I think the referee got it right. Well, one final thing, if I can, Harry, I know we're short of time, but Donnarumma's save, and we'll not just throw that into the mix as well. I mean, fantastic shot. And I mean, brilliant free kick. Absolutely fantastic. But what a save. What a save. Absolutely magnificent. Got to get a mention as well.
Gents, thank you so much for your time this morning. I'll speak to you very soon. This episode of Set to the Score is sponsored by Sky Sports. Stream Sky Sports flexibly on Now. What you want, when you want, no fuss. Go to nowtv.com to start streaming Sky Sports today.